He said, you mustn't tell anyone about this. And what he said was, he was the man doing the job in his particular county, and there was someone like him in every other county. His job was, together, their job, was to make preparations for what was coming. And he said what was coming was a war, and they were expecting massive civil unrest as a result of this. And the military and the mainstream police force were going to have to focus their attention on this civil unrest that they believed was coming because of this, quote, war. And he said, you people, i.e. the traffic warden, and private security firms are going to be brought forward to do the jobs, many of the jobs that policemen currently do, and that's why you've been given those cards. A few days later, after I had this letter, I pick up the Daily Mail, and there's the story that traffic wardens are being redesignated as civil enforcement officers and given new powers. Well, if this story has any credibility at all, that's not the limit of the powers these people are going to be given. Because one thing that Franklin Roosevelt did say that was true is that anything that happens in politics happens because it's meant to happen. Not necessarily by the politicians who suffer the results of it, but by those who orchestrate it. And they know what's coming, and they've already got the solutions in place to offer. So, to finish, and I could go on for hours, and I sometimes do, because there are so many dots to connect between apparently unconnected things. But it's great that David Davis is highlighting Big Brother in Britain. But if we only focus on an authoritarian, arrogant Labour Party, then Big Brother global level is just going to go on and on and on. And if David Davis thinks it's going to stop when his party comes in, he's kidding himself. Thank you very much. Cheers, mate.
Pleasure. Yeah, very good.
I got all those bloody things. I picked one up once.
Yeah, what's my chiropractor?
Yeah, we'll take questions.
David Davis's motivation, whether you think something's controlling him perhaps, or and how you expect to do in this election.
Two things there. One, I'm taking David Davis at his word, and whether it's genuine, and I think on one level it is, at least on one level it is. What the other background is, you know, I'm going to talk about things I haven't researched. I mean, I'm never going to do that. But I'm taking him on his word. And the only relevant thing for me is that this Big Brother issue has been raised at this election, and that's why I'm standing. Whether it was David Davis or anybody else, it wouldn't matter. How do I expect to do? Do you know, I don't care. I don't care. Do you know, if I get 0 votes, I'll be proud as if I get 500 or 1,000, because that's not what I'm here for. First of all, I have no wish to be an MP, and secondly, I would never take an oath of allegiance to the Queen, which, having been voted in by the people, you have to do, apparently. I mean, what kind of society is that? And so, you know, the people want me in, but I won't say my allegiance to the Queen, and so allegiance to the country even. But why a person? Symbolic of the country? Well, maybe not. So it doesn't matter to me at all how I do. That's totally irrelevant. I mean, when you've had the shite that's been thrown at me in the last 20 years, you don't care really what people think of you. I mean, it just wash that away, and as a result, gives you the freedom to open your mouth and say what you think, instead of going through mental gymnastics of how do I get people to like me. I ain't interested. Information is what I'm interested in. And just very quickly, there's another point I'd like to make. Bloomberg, you reminded me. A massive area of Big Brother is money. Now, we don't seem to ask the fundamental questions. What is money? Who creates money? Who decides how much money is in circulation? And I've asked economists, and they can't tell me. And it is an extraordinary story. The people that put money into circulation, well, what we call money, it's figures on a screen, are private banks within the same cartel who issue non-existent money called credit. It's money that has not, does not, and will ever actually exist except as a thought on a computer screen. And because the same forces have controlled politics that have controlled the banking system, legislation has been passed which allows banks to lend at least 10 times, and it's more in truth, what they have on deposit. So every time you put £1 in a bank, you're giving that bank the right to lend 10 it doesn't have, and charge you interest on it. Because when you go to a bank and say you want a loan of £50,000, what does the bank do? It doesn't print any money, it doesn't move precious metal anywhere, it types into your account £50,000, and you start paying interest on that money. And you sign over wealth that does exist, your house, your land, your business, and if you can't pay back the money that doesn't exist, then they get your wealth that does exist. And this is how the wealth of the world has been trawled over the centuries into fewer and fewer hands. But this is another point. When you go into a bank and you ask for £50,000 or any other loan, the bank creates £50,000. You're not paying back £50,000, you're paying back £50,000 plus interest. And therefore, there is never ever enough, quote, money in circulation to pay back all the principal and all the interest on the loans outstanding. Therefore, bankruptcy is built into the system. Another thing, what creates a boom in society? More confident and often into more debt at a time of a boom. Oh no, the business is doing well, you've got lots of orders, yeah, I'll have 2 holidays, I'll have a bigger house, a bigger car. That money is put into circulation by private banks deciding to put money into circulation at certain interest rates. If they want to create a crash, all you have to do is take out of circulation money that is currently in circulation. How do you do that? You start making fewer loans, or you push interest rates up, or you do both. And what you're doing is taking money out of circulation. The fishing line's gone out, now the fishing line's coming back. And as people can't pay back their loans because there's not enough money in circulation and they've lost their job, not because they don't want to work hard, but because the company's not selling as many products anymore because the money's been taken out, people lose their homes, they lose their property, they lose their businesses. And it's all based on creating money out of nothing. Banking is the biggest legalized fraud on the planet, and it is one of the absolute prime weapons of Big Brother. Because what was that old saying? If you've got them by the balls, their hearts and minds will follow. Well, what's the better way of doing that than getting control of the buying power that people have? And fear is the biggest thing. That's the weapon, the 4-letter word that controls the world. Once people are in fear of anything, they invariably give their power away to anyone or anything that they believe will protect them from what they have been manipulated to fear. So, David Davis, great, but it's bigger than you think. Yes, mate.
Andrew Vine, Yorkshire Post.
Hello.
Can you tell us what you're planning to do in the way of campaigning while you're up here?
Well, like I say, a week and a few days ago, I was sitting on the Isle of Wight. And the response to me saying